Hello, okay, today we're going to be doing some herb planting, and the first one that I want to share with you is actually one for fresh herbs for pizzas. The herbs we'll be using are common oregano, a curly parsley, and also a little bay plant. Now, with the bays, over time they will get larger, as you can see with some of the other plants that we do have here. So this is really for a couple of seasons. It will enjoy being in that pot, but you will want to transfer it over time. So just to point that out at the beginning. Now, you can get 9cm herbs like this here, and we do have more higher impact herbs if you want to get that more instant effect, but they will grow very nicely in the season, so don't be put off by starting with a smaller plant. It won't take long to fill the pot here. So what we're using is our professional potting mix, and this will work very well for putting these herbs in, and we'll give them a good feed with that, but you can add additional feeds as you go through the season. Now, when you're planting, it's good to fill up the pot up to the level so the soil is just around the base of the pot here. And then when you're planting, you also want to maintain the level of the soil that you've got there. So just hand on the pot, knock them out there, and you should see a nice fresh white root system on the plant there. Now with the spacing, you do want to keep that sort of triangulated to keep them as far apart as you can, so they're not competing with each other, so they will thrive better in the pot. So the best thing to do first is actually place your plants in there, and then once we've done that, we're going to fill up and firm in with the other pots. Sometimes, as you can see there, they don't always come out first time, but we get there in the end. And then just once you've got your compost bag open, it's always good to loosen it so it's nice and sort of aerated and not too compacted, which will help fill up the planter for you. Now, a lot of the herbs that you can put in at this time of year, the earlier you get them in, the more crop you're going to get. Some things will work very well just for the season, and some things will work sort of year after year. And that's good to sort of strike a balance with what you've got there and think about that, but I'll go through that as we get on. Now, once the plants are all in there, as you do, just firming down round the plant, and then what you do after that is give that a water in. Okay, so that was the pizza option that we've got there. I'm going to go through another one with you, and the reason I've chosen these three herbs is very much that certain herbs enjoy a bit more water, some prefer the drier, hotter climate, and that's the good thing about the containers is rather than mixing things that don't necessarily match up as well, if you choose plants that happily will grow in the same conditions, you're going to get them thriving better and ultimately produce more to use, which is going to help you. So again, that's sort of more Italian theme, but this is a hardier plant one. These are all evergreen plants, so they will stay in the plant all year round. So we've got a time, I would have chosen a creeping one, because if you were using it in this type container, if they're all coming upright, they're going to compete with each other, whilst having a creeping plant, it is going to cascade over the edge. One, it looks nice, and two, functionally, it's really going to help the plants actually get on and get you the better results. The other one is a rosemary. Now, it does look a smaller plant when they're in 9cm, but very much after a year or so, they will thicken up to this, and this one has been cut back to keep that bushiness there, but if you do let them grow, they will really get quite rampant. So they do take good cuttings, so the more you use the plant, the better it actually will be for the growth of that there. And the other plant that we've got, again, is a nice evergreen. Now you've got sage. This will come in multiple colours, so the flavours are similar, but you can go, if you want to add a splash of colour, things like the variegated one we've got here, plain greens, and even tricolours which got flashes of purples. All ones that will make the plant look good, but functionally great for cooking. With those plants though, that is again a couple of year sort of project, because they will go in there, but naturally these plants will want to grow as large bushes, so the more you cut them, the better it is for it. But over time you will want to freshen it up and use new herbs with that there. So we're going to go through just a few options in terms of containers. Now, some people have nice large borders that you can put multiple plants in and just grow it naturally, raised beds. But for people with smaller spaces or want something on the patio where you're sitting, to get the nice fragrant smell of the herbs. We do have all sorts of sizes to cater for all. So you can be very simple with something like a little trough like this. You have got 3 plants in there, so as you can see, something that isn't really particularly that large will sustain that. Again, you wouldn't really want that for too long, a couple of years at most, then refresh. With the pot container, again, this will work for a bit longer being a larger vessel, but you could fit that in most sort of places. For something a bit more of a step up, you have got herb planters or strawberry planters, work very well with a mixture of plants. With the cascading ones from off the side, really will give you quite a small space, but actually a lot of return in terms of the herbs that you can grow. On the top of the pot we've used our Alpine decorative range here. Now this is very useful for a couple of reasons. Firstly is to keep the moisture in and actually weeds from coming up as well, which again helps with the plants' growth rather than being stunted competing with the weeds. And also there's different colours that you can use for design, style, just to help complement the pot. Or taking it up another level here, we have got one of our own crates here which we've lined first to make sure it keeps the moisture in there and actually will keep the wood lasting longer as well. But 5 herbs in this one to again give you a decent crop there, but still taking quite a small space. Now with all of this container vessels that we're using, the most important thing rather than just the compost is using a slow release fertiliser. Ones like this will work for 6 months, so you do want to make sure that when you're putting the mix in, you're mixing some of that in there. And then that, if you are keeping hardy herbs like we showed with the rosemaries, thyme, sage, you are going to need to feed again the next year. But if you're doing that every spring, that will really help keep the plant vigour and health going very well. So that's all for our herb planters for today. Thank you very much for your time for watching, and I hope that was very helpful. As always in store, always quiz the staff. We're always more than happy to help with ideas and just generally give you the ideas and information that you need.